Why Tools Fear Inoculum is music for the mind, body, and spirit. Now, a while ago, I started listening to Tools' album Fear Inoculum, and I must admit, I wasn't that familiar with the band's back catalogue, but people had been telling me for ages, you must listen to Tool. What a band this is. Now, from my very first listen of the album, it captured me. It mesmerised me. It entranced me, and still does today, almost 2 years later. I'm going to go off now in a bit of a tangent, but bear with me because it does have relevance. So stay with me. I've been around involved in boxing gyms as far back as I can remember, and there's always been some sort of music playing in the background. Back in the day, it was the radio, the top 30, the top 40. Then we progressed to cassette players, then CDs, and now streaming services where you can get pretty much anything at the touch of a button. The benefits of training to music have been well documented and researched over the years. Music keeps us from focusing on the physical sensations of fatigue, it increases mental arousal, so you are more switched on, which is very advantageous in a boxing gym, let me tell you. It improves motor, movement, coordination, i.e., moving to the beat. Most people have a deep inbuilt response to synchronize their movements, or try to the music's beat. When I train and spar myself, I like to have music on that has great rhythm and plenty of what I call emotional highs and peaks. It has to be very uplifting. An example of this is Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven from the movie The Song Remains the Same, especially Jimmy Page's guitar solo, where John Paul Jones on keyboards and John Bonham on drums combine to create these wonderful counterpoints which allows Jimmy to take flight. I started putting Fear Inoculum on in the gym. Now, most of the guys in there would not listen to progressive metal. It would not be their music of choice. But no one said a word. We didn't get the usual hisses and boos and good-natured jeers. Turn that bloody rubbish off. As the days passed, I kept playing the album. And I noticed when it was on, there was a distinct rise in energy levels. Whether the guys were responding consciously or subconsciously to the music, I couldn't tell you. But there was something about that music, the almost tribal rhythms and that primeval funkiness, and the way the band repeat riffs and patterns, often in slightly different forms or extra effects, extra guitar lines, and with different rhythms. This all gives the feeling of moving forward to some sort of goal. Couple this with all the emotional peaks that the band hit time and time again. It creates, like I said, this rise in energy levels. When I take the guys on the pads or let them spar, I'll usually do 3-minute rounds with a minute rest. And as the session nears its end, I'll up the length of those rounds to 4, 5, maybe 6 minutes. One day in the gym, working with 3 experienced boxers, very experienced boxers, I decided to extend the rounds to the duration of 4 of the tracks on Fear Inoculum. The title track, Numa, Invincible and Descending. These are 10, 12, 13-minute plus rounds. The guys should have been on the floor, quivering blobs of sweat and tears. But no, yes, they were tired, but nowhere near the levels that they should have been. They say music is a legal performance enhancer. Maybe Tool is the triple X version. So, with these remarkable effects in the gym, I decided to explore this music. And it was a bit like falling down the rabbit hole. And you know what? I'm still there. The drummer is Danny Carey, and this guy is just phenomenal. Superb metal chops and uncanny ability to manipulate time and a colossal drum sound. Guitarist Adam Jones says Danny is supernatural. He can play one polyrhythm with his feet, another with his right hand, and another with his left hand. Adam Jones: I can come into rehearsals with a riff and Danny will start playing something completely different over it. So much so that I can sometimes forget how to play that original riff. One of the tracks off of Fear Inoculum is called Tempest, and when the band had recorded it, they played it back to several friends of theirs, which were drummers, and they said, "Oh, that sounds fantastic. I love the drum overdubs." And Adam said, "There's no overdubs. That's just Danny. He's an alien." While drummers all over the world practice rudiments to master their sticking technique, Danny employs the same exercises to develop foot control and independence. As a result, he can deliver a snare drum solo with no problem whatsoever, while perfectly controlling the hi-hat and the double bass parts. Another characteristic of Danny Carey's drumming, probably deriving from his jazz experience, is the use of odd time signatures, polyrhythms and polymeters. To control such weird and challenging elements, he often adopts improvisation, relying on his inner pulse rather than precisely counting out the beats. Danny Carey: "I never wanted to play beats. I always wanted to play the songs. And I think that any good drummer plays music, not beats. You participate in the musical experience, anticipate the chord changes, anticipate the arrangements, and set things up. It's a logical progression. When you go through a song, people are prepared. That's your job, to set up those nuances and changes as the music progresses. Lead people into new spaces." Another aspect of Danny's drumming is his ability to bring in his love of world music, and he blends them seamlessly into a Western progressive metal band. He's spoken of his love for Billy Cobham and Lenny White, two great jazz fusion players. Check out Billy's album Spectrum, I think it's from 1971, 72, and Lenny's Big City from around that era, for two examples of why they are held in such high regard as drummers. Danny also references King Crimson's 1981 album Discipline as a huge influence on his playing. Discipline abounds with those tricky polyrhythms. It's very rhythmic, even funky at times. Talking Heads meets prog rock. In fact, in another video, I'm going to look at how Discipline and the two albums that immediately followed it, Beat and Three of a Perfect Pair, had huge influence on Tools music. So, what does every great drummer need? An equally great bassist. Take a listen to the title track of Fear Inoculum, around 1 minute 39 seconds in. Enter Mr. Justin Chancellor on bass, with just a merest hint of delay. But every note seems wrenched out of his very being. Watch the man when he plays on stage. He feels every note that comes out of that bass guitar. Bass Player Magazine. Tool's secret ingredient may well be Justin Chancellor. Whether he's grooving with the drums, doubling on melody with the guitar, or reacting to the vocal line, Justin's thick mid-range tone, guitar style techniques, and elastic versatility are the most grounded components of nu metal's loftiest band. For me, this man is a don, a sensei of the bass guitar. He's found a middle ground which is all his own, between funk and rock, which kind of defies explanation. So let's call it Chancellor territory. He doesn't play 1,000,000 miles a minute. He doesn't need to. That wouldn't fit in to Tool at all. Ultimate Guitar Magazine. People can argue about the technical ability of different bass players all they want, but in the end, we listen to the songs, not speedy arpeggios or insane double tapping. Not that Chancellor is not able to do that. This is where Justin outshines every other bassist on planet Earth right now. His ability to come up with riffs, melodies, and weird polyrhythms that fit perfectly into the overall picture of Tool is on par with Adam Jones, whose creative genius is undeniable. Justin Chancellor. My role is to marry things together, and that's the duty of bass in general, as the glue in the lower register. It's something you feel that merges the kick and the guitar strings and the voice. It has melody, but it's deep down there, so it can support everything. In our band, there are moments when we allow the guitar to become the glue and the cement holding down that roll, which allows me to explore. A lot of my explorations are in a higher register because room is made for that to be possible. Most of the time, Adam and I will meet in the middle, and then I can drop down to a lower octave, and it has a greater impact. When Adam holds down the rhythm and I conduct the harmony, then it embodies a whole other emotional tone. Next up, Adam Jones. I can remember hearing an interview with Adam a while back, and he said when he was starting out, he'd seen all the shredders, guys with amazing technique and speed up and down the fretboard, and that way of playing just wasn't for him. He wanted melody. He wanted his guitar playing to be like a vocalist. When I listen to Adam play, he always seems like a great painter. He has so many colours at his disposal, tones and techniques, but he uses them sparingly. Deft touches here and there. He can go from colossal, bone-crushing riffing to a quiet minimalism at the drop of a Danny Carey drum roll. Take a listen to the opening track of Fear Inoculum. 13 seconds in, I honestly thought Adam was doing the Jimmy Page violin bow on the guitar thing, but no, it's just Adam on the volume pedal. But that quiet beauty, mimicking a cello, is something else, and then switch to 7 minutes 9 seconds in Descending. That searing, take the paint off the walls slide guitar. Adam Jones is all about melody, phrasing, and what fits in with the music, not with his ego. I came across Adam's favourite guitarists, and I was pleased to see Andy Gill of the very underrated Gang of Four. And Andy Gill is a terribly underrated guitar player and an absolute master of rhythm. Robert Fripp was there, of course. Danny Carey mentions that Robert's cast iron timekeeping is an often overlooked part of King Crimson. Take a listen to Adam's playing on this album. The timekeeping is also cast iron. James Maynard Keenan. I'm going to keep this bit short because Maynard needs, in fact, all the members of Tool need their own separate videos, and I will get round to doing them. So, I'm going to get this right. Danny, Justin and Adam spend years in the studio perfecting the music. Danny Carey says, from 1 to 5, Monday to Thursday, for 3 years, we were in the studio making this record. People have no idea of the work that went into this record. They make all this incredibly complex music, and then they give it to Maynard to create lyrics and melodies around it. Maynard says, don't give it to me until it's ready. It's 100% ready and you're comfortable with it. That just beep beep blows my beep beep mind, and I need to explore that process in much more detail. Justin Chancellor, he blew my mind on this album, says Justin, talking about Maynard. He did things that were amazing, unexpected and transcendental. We thought what we were doing was already quite fantastic, but he made it incredible. Danny Carey, it wasn't just what he was singing, but what he didn't sing, the spaces that he left to let these compositions we worked our heart and soul out on shine. It was the ultimate compliment. It made me feel that we're the Three Musketeers again. We're a band again. Thank you for listening. Please stay safe, stay well, and I'll be doing many more of these Tool videos in the future. Hope you like them. Please subscribe to the channel and please leave a comment. Thank you very much.